The alien world of Zythera was unlike anything humans had ever seen. Towering crystal spires reflected the twin suns, casting brilliant light across cities that seemed alive, pulsing with energy. The air hummed with a soft vibration, a product of the planet's natural energy fields, which Zytherans had learned to control. In this world, logic and strength ruled everything, and the concept of weakness was almost unknown. At the heart of Zythera stood the palace of Queen Thalkara, a towering figure whose intelligence and authority were unmatched among her people. Her scales shimmered with shades of deep violet and silver, a sign of her royal status. Her eyes, sharp and calculating, missed nothing that occurred in her realm. Today, her attention was focused on a strange report brought by one of her officers. "Your Majesty," said Commander Zyra, bowing respectfully, "we have intercepted communications from human sources. They speak of warriors capable of defeating creatures and armies far stronger than themselves. Some even claim humans have survived situations that would destroy an entire Zytheran battalion." Thalkara leaned back in her throne, her long claws resting lightly on the armrests. She tilted her head and let out a soft, melodic laugh that echoed through the hall. "Humans? Weak, fragile creatures?" she said, her voice carrying both amusement and disdain. "They call themselves warriors, yet they cannot even match our scouts or defend their small ships from storms in space. Tell me, Zyra, do you think these tales have any truth?" Zyra hesitated. "The reports are consistent, Your Majesty. Humans are resourceful. They do not rely solely on strength. Their victories often involve clever thinking, unexpected tactics, and teamwork." Thalkara's laughter grew louder. "Clever thinking? Teamwork? These are not weapons. Strength, strategy, and loyalty to the Queen, these are what win wars. I have seen our armies crush entire fleets with ease. Humans are stories for children, nothing more." And yet, beneath her laughter, a small spark of curiosity stirred. Humans had never faced her personally. She had never seen them in battle. Perhaps, just perhaps, there was something different about these creatures that might amuse her. Meanwhile, far across the galaxy, the human exploration fleet approached Zythera. The flagship, SS Horizon, moved with quiet grace, its silver hull reflecting the stars around it. Commander Alex Riker, a human of moderate height and wiry strength, stood on the bridge. His dark hair was cropped short, and his eyes were calm, attentive, and full of focus. Unlike the stories the Queen had heard, Riker was not a superhero. He did not possess supernatural strength. His skill lay in observation, adaptability, and leadership. "Status report," Riker said to his crew. "All systems nominal, Commander," said Lieutenant Mara. "Sensors indicate high activity on Zythera's surface. Atmospheric readings show unusual energy fluctuations, consistent with reports of their natural energy fields." Riker nodded. "We must approach carefully. Remember, our mission is peaceful first. We observe, we learn, and if necessary, we defend ourselves. But no unnecessary risks." As the fleet entered Zytheran orbit, the humans saw the planet in detail. Vast cities of crystal and metal, massive energy towers, and creatures moving in perfect coordination, reflecting a society built on logic and order. For a moment, Riker felt the weight of history pressing down. Humans had traveled far, faced unknown dangers, and still maintained their humanity. And now, here they were, stepping into a world that had never known a rival like them. On Zythera, Queen Thalkara watched the approaching human ships through her palace's observation chamber. Her attendants had brought her detailed reports of the fleet's size, technology, and crew composition. The humans' ships were fragile, their numbers few, yet the reports claimed they had survived encounters that would have destroyed larger forces. Thalkara's curiosity grew. "Prepare a greeting," she said, her voice calm but commanding. "I will observe them personally. It will be amusing." The human fleet attempted to establish communication. Their first message was simple, polite, and universal. A greeting, an offer of friendship, and a desire for observation and knowledge exchange. Scytheran systems received it and immediately relayed it to the Queen. Thalkara raised an eyebrow. Friendship? She mused. How quaint. They speak as if they are equals. She chuckled. We shall see if they can even survive their first challenge. The first contact went poorly not because of hostility, but because of misunderstanding. Humans attempted to dock their smaller ships near Scytheran observation stations, but Scytheran automated defenses misinterpreted their approach. Energy barriers activated, forcing the humans to maneuver quickly. Commander Riker assessed the situation instantly. Evasive maneuvers. Use the energy currents to our advantage. Stay calm. Using clever navigation, the humans avoided the energy barriers entirely, their ships gliding through narrow gaps and twisting paths that Scytheran sensors had assumed impossible. For the first time, the automated systems failed to predict human behavior. The humans' quick thinking and teamwork allowed them to escape without any damage, leaving Scytheran officers puzzled. Queen Thalkara watched the sequence unfold in the palace chamber. She was not angry, rather. She was intrigued. These creatures, so weak in appearance, were clever and adaptable. She tapped her claw on the observation console, considering the possibilities. Interesting, she murmured. Perhaps there is more to these humans than I believed. Over the next few days, humans and Zithrans observed each other cautiously. Riker led teams to study Zithran architecture, energy systems, and wildlife. He did so with careful respect, showing no aggression. His crew worked in perfect coordination, communicating silently and efficiently. Scytheran observers noted how humans solved problems through teamwork and improvisation rather than strength. One afternoon, a small incident escalated into a test of human skill. A research drone malfunctioned, and its energy core became unstable, threatening to overload. The humans had no specialized tools to stabilize it immediately. Commander Riker assessed the situation. Listen carefully, he told his team. We cannot wait for help. We must act now, using what we have. They used components from unrelated systems, improvising a solution that diverted the energy safely. Scytheran officers watching were astonished. No one could do that in our fleets. One admitted. It requires creativity, cooperation, and courage under pressure. Thalkara observed silently, her amusement fading into curiosity. She began to see a pattern. Humans survived where others failed. Not because of brute force, but because of their minds and hearts. One evening, as Zythera's twin suns set and painted the sky in shades of gold and violet, Thalkara summoned her council. Prepare a formal evaluation, she commanded. I wish to see a human in direct challenge against our soldiers. Nothing fatal. A test of skill, strategy, and adaptability. I must see if these tales hold any truth. Her officers exchanged nervous glances. To face the Queen's command was a privilege, but none had expected her to grant the humans any recognition at all. Meanwhile, Riker received his own instructions. Prepare for observation, his crew was told. We do not know what they expect, but we must demonstrate our abilities without aggression. Show who we are through skill, intelligence, and cooperation. And so, two worlds prepared for their first true encounter, one expecting weakness, the other ready to reveal a deeper strength. In the palace, Thalkara returned to her throne, watching the stars. She could not predict what would happen, but a small thrill ran through her scales. The humans had sparked a curiosity she had not felt in decades. The idea of facing a human warrior not with weapons or fire, but with strategy and mind was both unsettling and exciting. This will be interesting, she whispered to herself. And on the other side of space, Commander Riker prepared with his crew, calm, focused, and ready to meet a world that underestimated humanity. In that moment, two different perspectives converged, one filled with doubt and mockery, the other filled with determination and hope. And though neither fully understood it yet, the encounter would change everything. The sun of Zythera cast long shadows across the crystalline plains, making the spires of the alien cities glitter like 1,000 stars. In the palace, Queen Thalkara sat on her throne, her eyes fixed on the viewports. Beyond the city, a specially constructed arena awaited the place where she would witness the strength of humanity. "Prepare the test, Commander Zaira," Thalkara commanded, her voice calm but with a hint of anticipation. "Let us see if these humans are more than stories." Zaira bowed and left to organize the Zytheran forces. They were elite soldiers, trained to adapt, precise in every move, and loyal to the Queen above all else. None had ever faced a human before, and most believed it unnecessary. The Queen's curiosity, however, required a demonstration. Meanwhile, on the human side, Commander Alex Riker gathered his crew in the main deck of the SS Horizon. "Listen up," Riker said, his tone steady but firm. "We've been invited to a demonstration. This is not a fight to win with brute force. This is a challenge of wit, creativity, and teamwork. Remember, we are guests. Show them who we are through clever thinking, not aggression." The crew nodded, ready for anything. They trusted Riker's leadership completely. When the humans arrived at the arena in their small landing craft, they saw Zytheran soldiers lined up in formations that seemed impossible to maneuver around. Their uniforms glimmered with energy shielding, and their movements were precise, almost mechanical. "Stay calm," Riker whispered. "Observe first, then move." The Queen observed from a high balcony, her eyes narrowed with interest. She had seen many battles, many strategies, and many victories. But the humans before her were unlike any opponent she had imagined. Their ships were small, their bodies fragile, and yet, something in their demeanor was different. The first stage of the test began. Riker and his crew had to navigate a complex obstacle course designed to mimic natural and artificial hazards of Zythera. Energy fields flashed unpredictably. Moving walls threatened to block paths, and holographic traps tested their perception. The Zytheran soldiers were instructed to intercept the humans without harming them. They moved with precision, expecting the humans to make mistakes that would force them to fail. But Riker had already studied the arena. "Use the gaps between the energy pulses," he instructed. "Stay aware of your surroundings and move together." Timing is everything. The humans moved with perfect coordination. Where Zytheran soldiers expected hesitation, they found quick decisions. When an energy barrier suddenly activated in their path, Riker spotted a nearby reflective crystal and redirected the barrier's energy safely, allowing his crew to pass. Queen Thalkara leaned forward, her curiosity growing. "Interesting," she murmured. "They do not rely on strength, yet they adapt faster than our soldiers anticipate." The next challenge involved a series of moving platforms over a chasm. Zytheran sensors calculated exact patterns, expecting humans to fail. But Riker instructed his crew to think creatively. "Use momentum, not force," he said. "Jump together. Trust the timing." The humans synchronized perfectly, crossing the platforms with grace and precision. One Zytheran officer whispered, They move as one. It is almost like their minds are linked." By now, the Queen's amusement had shifted into astonishment. Humans were not winning through raw power. They were winning through observation, improvisation, and seamless teamwork. The final test involved a more direct encounter. A squad of Zytheran soldiers advanced, testing the humans' ability to avoid capture while navigating the terrain. This time, the humans had no cover except the natural environment. Riker thought quickly. "Distract them," he said. "Lead them toward the energy wells." Using small devices to mimic sounds and lights, the humans created illusions, drawing the Zytherans into traps they had not calculated. When the soldiers pursued, they were slowed by the environment, while humans moved around obstacles with ease. Queen Thalkara's eyes widened. She had never seen such clever manipulation of the surroundings. "They think differently," she whispered. "Not like any species I have ever studied." One of the Zytheran officers attempted to corner Riker directly, confident that strength would prevail. But Riker anticipated the move. He led the officer onto a narrow path, where the soldier's size became a disadvantage. Using agility and timing, Riker navigated past him without confrontation. The arena echoed with the quiet steps of humans moving swiftly, their minds always one step ahead. The humans achieved what seemed impossible. They completed the course, evading the Zytheran squad, and reached the center point of the arena without injury or capture. The Queen stood silently for a moment. Then, she clapped once, sharply, her voice carrying across the arena. "Well done," she said. "You have surpassed my expectations, human. Not in strength, not in weaponry, but in something far more rare: intelligence, creativity, and unity." Riker bowed slightly, not in arrogance, but in respect. "Thank you, Your Majesty. We came as guests, and we sought understanding. We only hope to show that cooperation and ingenuity can achieve more than conflict alone." The Zytheran soldiers were stunned. They had expected humans to fail, yet here they were, demonstrating the very traits that Zytherans considered secondary. Their Queen's decision to observe personally had revealed something that many of them had not considered: that humans possessed qualities Zytherans rarely practiced: adaptability, empathy, and strategic thinking beyond calculations. Thalkara turned to her council. "You see now, do you not?" she said. "Humans are not weaker. They are different. Their strength lies not in raw power, but in their mind, their spirit, and their ability to work together in ways we have seldom seen." The council murmured among themselves, unsure of how to respond. Some felt admiration, others discomfort. Thalkara raised her claw, silencing them. "This is only the beginning," she said. "We will learn from them, not merely as opponents, but as a species, with values we have overlooked." Riker and his crew returned to their ship, exhausted but triumphant. They had not fought to dominate. They had moved, observed, and adapted. In doing so, they had proven that human ingenuity could challenge even the most organized and powerful alien forces. As the sun set on Zythera, painting the crystal spires in shades of gold and violet, Queen Thalkara lingered in the observation chamber. For the first time in her life, she considered a world beyond conquest and hierarchy. These humans had sparked something she had not felt in decades: curiosity, respect, and even admiration. "Perhaps they are more than stories after all," she whispered to herself. "Perhaps humans can teach us something we have long forgotten." And on the SS horizon, Riker looked out at the alien world. He did not see enemies. He saw possibilities. He understood that this encounter was not just a test, it was the beginning of understanding, the first step toward a future where humans and Zytherans could learn from one another. For now, the humans had survived Zythera's test. They had shown that courage, cleverness, and cooperation could achieve what strength alone could not. And for the Queen, the realization settled deep in her mind. These humans were worthy of attention, worthy of respect, and perhaps even capable of inspiring a change she had never imagined possible. The arena was quiet now. The human crew gathered, sharing smiles and quiet laughter. They had faced the unknown, adapted, and succeeded. It was a victory not of force, but of mind and spirit, the very qualities that defined humanity. Thalkara watched from above, her mind already turning over possibilities. "The tales were not lies," she murmured. "The human spirit is formidable indeed." And with that, the stage was set for a new chapter, one where the Queen's perception of humans would shift, and where the next encounters would not only challenge her understanding, but perhaps change the fate of Zythera itself. The next morning, Zythera's twin suns rose over the glittering cityscape, bathing the crystalline towers in soft golden light. The arena where humans had demonstrated their ingenuity was quiet now, but its echoes still lingered in the minds of those who had witnessed the event. Most of all, it lingered in the mind of Queen Thalkara, who had spent the night reflecting on what she had seen. Her thoughts were not of weakness or superiority. Instead, she pondered the humans themselves, their courage, their quick thinking, and the way they worked together. Something about their approach to challenges fascinated her. Unlike her people, who relied heavily on structured hierarchy and precise planning, humans seemed to thrive in uncertainty. They adapted, learned, and discovered solutions in ways Zytherans rarely considered. Finally, Thalkara decided to act. She summoned Commander Alex Riker to the palace. Riker arrived with his crew, stepping carefully through the grand halls of the palace. The walls shimmered with embedded crystals, displaying patterns of energy that shifted like living art. Zytheran attendants moved gracefully alongside them, their expressions formal but curious. Riker felt the weight of history around him, but he did not falter. He had been trained for exploration, diplomacy, and understanding, not just survival. Queen Thalkara received him in her private chamber, high above the city. The room was vast, with a ceiling that reflected the sky and walls that glowed softly with ambient energy. The Queen's presence was commanding, yet there was an unmistakable curiosity in her eyes. "Commander Riker," she began, her voice calm but carrying authority. "You and your crew have shown what I did not expect, not through weapons or force, but through ingenuity, observation, and cooperation. You have earned my attention and my respect." Riker inclined his head respectfully. "Thank you, Your Majesty. We sought only to demonstrate that humans can meet challenges without unnecessary conflict. We believe that understanding and creativity are as important as strength." Thalkara studied him carefully. "Your people possess qualities I had long underestimated. Your adaptability, courage, and sense of teamwork, these are remarkable. You remind me that strength is not always visible, and that true power can be found in thought, in collaboration, and in the heart." For the first time in her life, the Queen considered the possibility of learning from another species. Zytherans prided themselves on their knowledge and organization, yet humans had something different, something inspiring. "Tell me," she said, her tone softer now. "How do your people maintain this spirit? How do you face situations that seem impossible and still find solutions?" Riker smiled slightly. "We trust each other, Your Majesty. We communicate, observe, and adapt. We learn from mistakes and from each other. We do not rely solely on power. We rely on understanding, creativity, and sometimes, patience." Thalkara nodded slowly. "Patience, observation, adaptation. These are qualities I had overlooked. My people focus on efficiency, precision, and control. Yet, in doing so, we miss the beauty of unpredictability, the lessons it brings." The Queen's reflection was interrupted by her chief officer, Commander Zyra, who approached cautiously. "Your Majesty, perhaps we could consider a joint effort with the humans. If they are as capable as we have seen, there is much they could teach us, and much we could achieve together." Thalkara's eyes glimmered with thought. "Perhaps you are right, Zyra. There is wisdom in this. Humans are not merely a curiosity. They are a potential ally, a species whose abilities complement our own. We should explore what we can learn from them, not what we can dominate." Meanwhile, Riker and his crew began to interact more closely with Zytheran scientists and strategists. They shared techniques for problem-solving, teamwork exercises, and ways to approach challenges creatively. Zytherans watched in amazement as humans approached tasks from angles they had never considered. Small mechanical problems that had puzzled Zytheran engineers for decades were solved in minutes by Riker's team. Through these exchanges, Zytherans began to see the value of human thought patterns. They realized that human strength lay not in brute force, but in their ability to innovate and cooperate. For Thalkara, each success brought a quiet joy. She was witnessing the potential for two species to grow together. One afternoon, as Riker walked through the palace gardens with Thalkara, he noticed the Queen pausing to observe the delicate crystal flowers, which absorbed light and shifted colors as they grew. "These are beautiful," Riker said. "Almost like your city itself, living, changing, and adapting." "They are," Thalkara replied. "Yet I realize now that beauty is not only in what we build, but in how we respond to challenges. Humans remind me that growth is possible in every situation, even when it seems impossible. Riker smiled. That is something we have learned too. Challenges are opportunities, not just obstacles. Over time, a genuine bond began to form. Zytherans who had once laughed at the idea of human strength now sought their counsel. Humans who had once feared alien superiority now worked side by side with Zytherans, learning, teaching, and growing together. The palace, once a symbol of hierarchy and control, became a hub of collaboration, where ideas flowed freely and innovation thrived. Even the young Zytherans, trained in the strict discipline of their culture, began to admire humans. They observed how humans encouraged one another, worked through disagreements peacefully, and celebrated each success as a team. It was a lesson Zytherans had rarely experienced. One evening, Thalkara addressed both Zytherans and humans gathered in the palace. Her voice carried across the grand hall, clear and commanding. "Today marks a new chapter," she announced. "We have seen humans not as weak creatures, but as beings of remarkable intelligence, courage, and spirit. We have learned from them, and they have learned from us. Together, we will explore new ideas, new discoveries, and new possibilities. This is not the end of our journey, but the beginning." Riker stood beside her, feeling the weight of history in the room. "Your Majesty," he said, "we are honored to learn from you as well. Together, we can achieve more than any of us could alone. This is how our worlds grow stronger." Applause filled the hall, both from humans and Zytherans alike. It was a sound of respect, acknowledgement, and hope. For the first time, the Queen truly understood the meaning of the stories she had once mocked. Humans were more than warriors, they were teachers, innovators, and partners in the journey of discovery. As the sun set, casting a soft golden and violet light over Zythra, Thalkara reflected on the change within herself. She had mocked humans at first, confident in their inferiority. Now, she saw them clearly. Capable, clever, and inspiring. And as Riker looked out over the city, he realized the same truth. That humanity's greatest strength was not merely in survival or strategy, but in the courage to act with intelligence, cooperation, and integrity, even in the face of the unknown. From that day forward, Zythra and humanity began a new chapter, one of friendship, mutual respect, and shared exploration. The humans had proven themselves, not through battle, but through ingenuity, perseverance, and the enduring power of the human spirit. And the Queen, once a skeptic, now looked forward to a future shaped, not by mockery or doubt, but by understanding and inspiration. It was a future where two very different species could grow stronger together, proving that true strength is found not in conquest, but in collaboration, creativity, and the courage to face challenges with an open heart. In the end, the legend of the human warrior was not just a story, it was a lesson for Zythera. And as the twin suns set, their light reflected in the human eyes and Zytheran scales alike, both worlds understood something fundamental. Greatness is not measured by strength alone, but by the mind, the heart, and the spirit that dares to rise above expectation. And in that understanding, a new era began.